Hello there, Star Wars fans, and welcome back to another RebelScum.com video. And today we have another special action figure review where we are having the figure reviewed by the person who played the character. So, yes, before you guys blow me up with comments in the forums and on the comment section, I am aware that Dorian Kingi, the marvelous suit actor that he is, who plays Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett, is the Book of Boba Fett Cad Bane, and this is the Clone Wars Cad Bane. However, it's still Cad Bane. Still the same character. True. There's still only one body who has played the character of Cad Bane, and this is currently the only Black Series figure that is out at this moment. We, of course, have the Bad Batch appearance of Cad Bane coming very soon in the Black Series line, and hopefully, even though it hasn't been announced yet, because not a ton of characters have been announced for the Book of Boba Fett, but fingers crossed that we have the Black Series Book of Boba Fett Cad Bane coming soon. I mean, at this point, I think it's safe to say that it'll likely happen. He's too much of a high-profile character to not get another Black Series figure release, especially since his character design is a little different from both his Clone Wars action figure profile right here, the upcoming Bad Batch action figure that's coming out. There are some significant differences, both in his outfit. His hats are all different. His blasters are different. And, of course, there's just the way you portrayed him that is going to carry across, I think, and hopefully show out in that upcoming Black Series figure. So, here it is. What do you think?
Yeah. This guy. Are we keeping it in the box? Or are we?
No.
We're
going to take it out.
Okay.
You're going to play with it.
Yeah, let's do it. Are we doing it right now?
Well, I mean, if you want to, you can show the box.
We can show the box.
This is your thing. I'm just here to hang out.
No, I'm totally curious. I think it's interesting too because watching, some of the Clone Wars stuff and then translating it over into what happened with Boba Fett, their design style or choices were it was very methodical, obviously. They were like, hey, we had this in the Clone Wars, but then is that going to work for this one? And then they would literally consciously go back and forth with the design parts of it and trying to see what's going to make it work. I think in the real world, that was the thing, right? What's actually going to physically be functionally possible with gravity, the human body, ergonomics, all that stuff was like completely taken in consideration. So I do like the things that they did do for the human character, but the live action character. But the stuff that I missed personally is the fact that the blasters have trigger guards, right?
And the Black Series one does. Yeah. The Clone Wars version of his blasters does have trigger guards
too. And for the Book of Boba Fett, he didn't have any trigger guards. So, I mean, that's just a weird, odd design style or choice. Because, in terms of quick draw stuff, I mean, Western guns had trigger guards because you think of like Clint Eastwood and everybody else, and they have like, they can twirl them, put them back in. Like I could do that too. So I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And I could twirl it. And I was like, oh, there's no trigger guards. You're never going to make them. To like, now I was like, okay, it's their style and their design. But I didn't, that was my biggest complaint, I think, overall, is that it just made the gun seem more futuristic, but in not a way that I would have chose to do it. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because like I said, the Western theme of what his essence is, you lose it a little bit because you're like, it's kind of like a Western gun, but not. So that was one of my biggest things. Outside of that, the belts are about the same. The vests are the same too. But I feel like it's going to be, can we take it out?
Yeah,
let's do that.
Let's take it out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, my curiosity on this stuff too is let's keep going.
Look at that.
Yeah. Oops, it's not good.
No, it's fine.
Ugh. Come on, Hetty. I can do this from there.
No, take it out. You're good. Here.
Yeah, let's do it. I feel like I don't want to hurt it. Oh, see? There you go. It wasn't me. I didn't do it.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, my little brain.
Yeah. No, it's funny too now how, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but the hat was this in the Clone Wars, is it super straight or does it bend down like this as well?
It bends down a little bit.
It does bend like that? Yeah. So, and that's another design difference, right? Because his hat was like razor sharp in the Book of Boba Fett. Like every take, they were like making sure it's like super, super like razor sharp, which was kind of a cool thing too. But then it also, does that divert away? I mean, you heard anybody that has thought about that being a design difference that people do or do not like?
People do definitely talk about the different hats, but it's not like a major thing. Like people don't go, oh, I don't like the new hat. It's too different, because he doesn't have the same hat in the Bad Batch either. In fact, at a point in the Clone Wars, he does lose this hat. Yeah. This is the first hat he has when we first see the character. Mm-hmm. But at some point in the series, he does actually lose that hat. Yeah. And then later on in the series, after he breaks out of prison, he gets a new hat. And we see him after they escape and they break into someone's shop that he's just trying on different hats, and he picks out his next hat that he likes because it's more his style. But it's not the same hat he had before.
The same hat. Yeah, that was an interesting thing I was kind of noticing too, because they were trying to find a material that could keep up with what it needed to be too. And I think that's always hard too. Like you said, there again lies things that are real, like real clothes, real hat, real material that will facilitate something that is a cartoon. I think that's the hardest part too, is like coming something that you can draw and nothing matters because you can make up anything you want and then bring it into real life. That's a really big challenge for anybody in any department. So I think I kudos to them for that. The fact that he has the rocket boots and we didn't have those. Right. I thought that was an interesting choice too, because that's such a staple attribute, I don't know if it's attribute again, or just like a tool that you would have, and then not have that. I didn't know. What did you think about that? I didn't know if that was going to be
having or not having. Not having, yeah. I just thought maybe he just lost him at some point in the timeline, or just didn't have him for some reason, or maybe it was to be more dramatic. I mean, I can imagine you wish you had the rocket boots, of course, when you had to do that super long walk.
Yep. I was like, can I just be like, oh,
sorry, the hat again. Yeah. And you said, hey, can I get a ride? And they're like, no.
Go, just walk back.
Walk back
you're
out.
Good. Yeah, you're good.
Walk back out and come back in, and keep your head down. We don't want to see your face yet.
For sure, too. I mean, this one doesn't also have the pack is up here too, which is kind of interesting versus actually being on his body.
Just attached to the back.
To his body, yeah. So I think if they do make one for this version,
for Book of Boba Fett,
that would be awesome to add that.
Well, another thing to notate is, aside from the hoses coming back, the breathing pack that's on his back for the Clone Wars figure here is smaller than the one you have on in the Book of Boba Fett in comparison.
Oh, interesting.
Because it's not significantly larger, but it's at least probably twice the size of that one. If I remember correctly.
Yeah, it took up a big part of the back, which is interesting. Yeah. No, outside of that, I mean, it would just be, I'm curious. I would really, really like to see the Boba Fett version.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm very curious and super stoked, and this is where it comes in. Sometimes it comes in for me. Selfishly, I would like to see a mini-me.
A mini.
I'm just saying.
I mean,
never had it, but this would be the first time, and that would be so cool.
I'm not going to say something like, oh yeah, Hasbro's definitely going to do it. Yeah. But the odds are good that Hasbro will likely do a Book of Boba Fett version of Cad Bane. Because like I said, from a collector's standpoint, he's always been a very popular character pretty much from his first appearance on screen. When you first saw him in Clone Wars take over the Senate. That's actually, he took the Senate captive so they could get Zero out. Yeah. And then after that, just seeing him in action, seeing him take on Jedi like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and unflinchingly too, because he's just a Duros. We've seen Duros many, many times. I mean, we first saw them in the first Star Wars at the Cantina. They were just background characters. And they were just these aliens that we never really thought twice about. But then here comes this guy, and he's not only really cool, but he's the baddest dude. So much so that even he makes Boba sweat a little bit. Like that's kind of crazy to think about, that this overlooked set of characters in Star Wars can be one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. Yeah. And I would notate that hopefully whenever they do your version, aside from the other things you were talking about, the gauntlets are much brighter metallic blue. Oh yeah. On your costume versus the more metallic gray that we have here for this version of Cad Bane. Yeah. Yep, no trigger guards, but both of these pistols are really cool, and of course they do slot into the holster here. There goes the hat again.
So the only thing that I'm wondering if what they're going to do for, hopefully, the Boba Fett version is the skull plate.
So, yeah, there is a good chance of that because the upcoming Bad Batch figure does have it. Because sometime in between Clone Wars and Bad Batch, that's when he and younger Boba have their first shootout. And that's, of course, what you're referencing in the Book of Boba Fett when you're like, hey, I'm still faster than you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you were still faster than him, given the significant age difference between Cad Bane and Boba Fett. And this... while this isn't Boba Fett necessarily in his prime anymore,
neither is he.
I mean, he's still I would say he still has a good few years younger than Cad Bane, or what you would expect. I mean, at that point, you would expect Cad Bane to be slower. He's been doing this at that point. When we see him in Clone Wars up to the Book of Boba Fett, I mean, he's been doing it for almost 30 years. Because that's almost a 30-year time frame from where we see him at the beginning of Clone Wars up to the point of the Book of Boba Fett. Somewhere around 30 years, give or take a year or two. And with Boba Fett being significantly younger, you would think, okay, yeah, Boba's definitely going to be faster at this point because he's already been the best at his prime, right? He was the best. And nobody was ever talking about Cad Bane anymore. So it's like, well, is Cad Bane dead? Did he die in the shootout? Nope. He showed back up in the Bad Batch. Okay. All right. Well, then what's he been doing? And then he just shows up in Book of Boba Fett and schools Boba again. It's just like, wow. Okay. Yeah. And so, yeah, I think it's safe to say if and when we get another Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett portion of the Black Series line, it will have the plate because we already have a figure coming with it. Is also
predating. Okay,
yeah. So, and Hasbro's known for recycling parts where they can and using similar head sculpts or using similar figure molds in general.
Yeah.
So it's very likely that whenever they do that version, it'll probably be a combination of maybe this figure and that figure with a change of accessories, different hat, different blasters, and slightly different, maybe slightly brighter version of skin tone, because now that we've seen him on screen, he's a little bit brighter than he appeared in the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the different colored gauntlets. But other than that, I don't foresee a whole lot of other changes to your potential figure, assuming Hasbro does one. Hopefully. Because I know a lot of fans would love it.
Yeah.
Book of Boba Fett was a great show. There's a lot of cool characters they can make figures for, and the ones that have come out have already been doing really well, and collectors are just trying to get them as quick as they can.
Awesome.
So there you go. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this review where Dorian got to cover the current Black Series Cad Bane figure. I mean, what do you think? You love it?
It's okay.
But you're looking forward to that. You want to see that other version. Yeah. You're more excited. I get
it. Predates me.
Right.
My involvement, I should say.
Right.
It predates my involvement and all the other stuff that I've...
It's still you in a sense, but it was you before you realized.
Got to do it. Yeah. So, the little extra bells and whistles that we have now, why not make another one?
Why not make another one? I mean, I'm already going to buy it because I'm going to cover that footage for you guys here on rebelscum.com along with all of our other tour reviews that we do on that. And speaking of, make sure you are subscribed and have notifications turned on for our YouTube channel. That way you know when new toy reviews go up, celebrity toy reviews go up, and other content as well. Make sure you're going to the website every single day because there's always something new posted, whether it's a toy review, some other kind of video, news, or even articles on the website. Go to rebelscumshop.com for all kinds of exclusive swag and merch. We'll see you guys later. We'll see you another time. And may the force be with all of you, you Rebel Scum.